Hello?
What's up, man?
What's good?
At long last.
Yeah. What's up, long? Jeez. I feel
I
like
know,
I knew you like, um, before I knew you. I still don't. We haven't talked or anything yet, but when we went to BW, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone will always tell me
man.
about you. So, I got it more than you because you went before me, but everyone's like, oh, you gotta meet Bree. You gotta meet Bree. So,
Oh
finally,
man.
it's happening?
Finally, man. Yeah, same. Like when I graduated, I think it was Vicky, Kim, and Hannah that were like, "Oh man, you gotta meet this dude, Jordan." Like, man, who this motherfucker y'all keep talking
Right,
about?
right, for real. It's like, why y'all keep bringing this person up?
That's funny, man. And we missed each other about 1 year. That's the craziest part.
I know. So you graduated what 2000 and
2010.
yup, and I came in 2010.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
wild. All right, well,
Funny as hell.
I think we're live. Hold up, let me see. What's
Oh, my hoodie too. It's like a comfort
good? All
blanket.
right. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think I was. That's my new outfit nowadays: hoodies and sweatpants.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's so easy. It's
yeah.
comfortable. There we go. Now I feel good.
All right. Dope. Okay, yeah, we're live. We're chilling. It's not like live on, but I'm recording, so we're good.
Nah, I got
All
you,
right.
man. It's all good.
Cool. All right. So, I kind of got a snapshot of what you do through like some of the music that you released, which I love, by the way. But I
Appreciate it.
know of you, as a before I knew the music that you were producing and making your own. I knew of you as like a really good cellist by word of mouth. Back then YouTube wasn't a big thing, so you don't like watch people play.
Nah, not really.
Right. So, but I know that you're a great musician. Um, but it seems like you really. It's not about only music. It's kind of about finding like a good balance in life. Is what I get from you. That's the vibe I get from you, and I dig that.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that because I had made I made this long post on Facebook like last week, um, just to summarize. Like everything is open in Texas because Greg Abbott is so smart. Um, so that was sarcasm, by the way. He's
I
not
know.
smart.
Yeah, I
No one likes him.
know.
um, and gigs are coming in like left and right, which I'm cool with the wedding gigs. I'm fine with those because I already know what to expect, and nothing has really changed as far as like them seeking you out for A, B, and C, right? You already know what the contract is. You know how much you're gonna get paid. You know what you're gonna play. Whoop de whoop, and you leave. But like a lot of these bars and venues are starting to open back up. The ones that survive, but things have changed. It just seems like it's all for optics, man. Like you got this, or there's a new business open, and they're like, "Hey, can you come play on our patio for like $50?" And nobody gives a shit what you're doing there, Or it's the converse, like it's another venue, or I played a gig literally in front of an arcade a couple of weeks ago. It's like this, if you could imagine, like Tremont, but a lot more uptight and gentrified, but it's like arcade and a whole bunch of restaurants and stuff. I played there, which it was weird. It was just me, and it was another like singer songwriter on the other side of the complex doing acoustic guitar and singing. I'm like, they just randomly put musicians out here, and I had my looper and stuff, whatever. There were maybe like 5 or 6 people out of the hundreds that were walking past me that actually stopped a couple of times, which I expected. But that was just the weirdest thing I'd ever done, and they paid me really well. And I was like, I feel weird, like it. And a lot of bands are starting to re-band, but it's like taking all these gigs left and right, wearing ourselves out over these situations that either don't matter or they don't serve any purpose for either us or the people, that's calling us in for it. So I made this long post. I was like, look, I might don't take it personally if I quit your band or if I say no to your gig or whatever, because this is weird. And when I first started all my new, it's not really a new project, but I do meditative and binaural stuff, and I started that last year just because the pandemic was really, I had never seen anything like that, and I was like super depressed over George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and all of them, and I was unhinged. I could not find like a space to just like be calm at all. I was trying everything. So my homeboy actually, he put out a meditation record, and it was dope. It was it was dope because it's nothing that I'd heard from him before, but I can still tell that it was him. And that inspired me. I was like, man, that is killing. Let me try something. And it's called Chakra Conscious, and it I didn't know at the time, but it was actually hitting all my energy centers when I was writing. I was like, damn, this is crazy. So I started implementing some of that. But then as soon as I started doing that, I was being really conscious of what spaces I was putting myself in. I have not played in orchestra in like 4 years or something. I actually turned it down because I got a really good church gig playing bass, and I it's a similar situation with classical. Like, if you take it too seriously, it's really not. It's not. It's not that serious. You know what I'm saying? And the people that we're playing for, the only audience that really supports it, like they go hard for it, is older people like Regina's age, but they're either like dying or just they're not well enough to attend these concerts, or the times are just changing too quickly. So the culture hasn't changed, which is weird. Like, if there's a whole nother wave of people that are coming up and patronizing live music, wouldn't it suit you to, figure out who this audience is so you know how to actually cater to them? Nothing's changed. It's still the uppity shit that it's always been. I just, it's, so I turned that down. I can't even believe I did that, because that's all of our dreams, right? When we're in school, it's to play in orchestra in some capacity. But the more I did, I was like, man, I really don't even like this shit no more. Like, and it broke my heart a little bit. It was like a bad breakup. I was like, damn, I can't believe this shit. Like, my mom spent all this money on me going to college and interlocking and all these other music camps and stuff, and here I am not even doing this shit anymore. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. I don't even have to say all of this.
No, please say it, because you just hitting all the. I'm not alone.
And I
Yeah.
mean, that just it's so weird. So, and I'm seeing like little pockets of musicians that are classically trained just starting to do their own thing now, or at least trying to, or at least entertaining the idea that there's there's so much more outside of just classical or just jazz or just hip. I like to put all that shit together and see what it sounds like. Um, but yeah, you're right. I've been really conscious of just like not just finding my space, but keeping that shit, commanding it. It's hard enough being a musician and me playing like all these damn instruments. I really have to like I have to keep my space sacred, or else I, shit, I don't really know. But yeah, all of those sounds just kind of everything that influenced me at BW, honestly, just comes out now in like the loop stuff that I do and the production. Like, I thank God for those dudes that kidnapped me at BW and just shoved jazz down my throat. 'Cause I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know. And Greg Banizak, he made me arrange a whole bunch of strings for
Oh wow.
um jazz tunes. I'm glad they threw me off of the cliff because I was walking around just thinking jazz was Miles Davis and Kenny G. No lie. You can
Wow.
ask them, man. The ones that were my age, they were like, oh no, 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 please come. Like they literally locked me in a practice room for like a weekend and was just playing Matt Metheny and Herbie Hancock and Grant Green, all these dudes. Um, but yeah, man, space, like you said, yeah, space. It's all about the space.
Yeah. Is wow. That was that was great. I think you hit a lot of stuff in there. I want to unpack some of that. Like your
Let's
BW
go,
experience, like you're talking about space, that's a peculiar space to be.
man. Oh my
So
god.
I assume you were from you were you from Dallas or that
Mhm.
Texas area, right? And then you went to Interlochen for how many years?
Mhm. I went
So
there in my senior year of college or
okay.
high school, and then straight from there I went to BW.
BW. All right. So Midwest. You know that.
Yep.
Gosh.
Yep.
So yeah, right now
Mhm.
I'm kind of near Interlocking. So I know
Oh
that. And
wow, you
then
supposed to Traverse City? Ooh
yeah, I
wee.
play gigs in Traverse City every now and then. I'm 3 hours
Damn,
south of Traverse City, so
that's
I know that
funny.
Interlocking vibe. So there's that, but we'll go to that in a second. But BW. So then you went to the other, Bible Belt of the North where
Oh man.
oh gosh, and then there's a lot of Bach. There's a culture about which I love, but you know what that comes with, right? With Dwight Oatman, which is my guy anyways, but you know what he come with,
Love him
and
to death.
yeah,
Mhm.
and then you have everyone that's going to school for like education or not necessarily
Therapy stuff.
therapy or something else or not even they kind of just got shoved into music school because their parents told them it
Yep.
was something cute, right? And they don't
Mhm.
know a
They don't even
thing
see
about
it.
nothing. Like I don't know,
Mhm.
like I don't confusing. So then you got there and you were, I assume, trying to be in orchestra because that's kind of how those railroad tracks move at that time. And then
Mhm.
like yeah, there's two things that I kind of want to know, like how was that experience like adjusting to those different environments? Like that was probably just like, whoa, where am I? And then how did that affect? Like, how did you find a way to balance your health and your music that way and grow still? And then too, like you were getting exposed to new music. Like I got exposed to some new music there too. Like they started doing those Beatles stuff, and I was covering
Yeah.
like the Kanye West stuff in the closet. Like I was late at night, I would be
Oh
going to the
man.
conservatories and I would be just doing my own thing. But I was like, yo, if someone catches me doing some of this stuff, like they gon' like, nah,
Mhm. They gonna
you're
light
not
your ass up.
right. So you found something else and I found something else, but it's cool, like because it wasn't necessarily you shouldn't do that. You kind of more were um, you found that path through ways like you weren't supposed to do it and you still found a way to do it or it was still pushed upon you. Like what are those experiences like in a way?
Well, in a way, I had gone to the camp before I went to the school, so the area itself I was somewhat familiar with. The cold really wasn't it. Going from Dallas to Upper Peninsula, Michigan, that was a lot. Like 6 months winters, 7 months winters. The snow didn't melt until like 3 weeks before graduation. That was a lot. But I was kind of already um used to the culture, the environment, just from being like in music camps and stuff
True.
during the summer. Um, and surprisingly, a lot of those kids were really cool. My mom, she warned me. She was like, "Now, some of these kids are rich, so take that how you will. At the time, I didn't know how, but they were really cool. And some of those kids, like their parents just like made them go to Interlochen because they could afford it, but they didn't really want to be there. Um, but at that point, it was pretty much all classical, and I had taken some composition classes. That wasn't my major though. I think I'd taken composition for like the second semester or something. But that was always a love of mine. And I was actually a double major at BW for my freshman and sophomore year. I was performance and composition.
Tight.
And I was a religion minor my freshman year, but I was like, oh, that's too much. Um, so after 2 years of Dr. Loris Chobanian,
Yup.
I was like, nah, I'm good. Like, I think I got everything I needed to know. With take that how you will. I didn't want to be there for longer than 4 years, pretty much. So I just
Right.
stayed with performance. Um, and going from, I guess, Texas comparing Texas to Cleveland, in a lot of ways, I mean, they're both Bible Belt, so I was used to that. Down here though, like you got a church like in between people's houses type of shit. Like there's a
Mm.
church everywhere. Like everybody on my dad's side is either a preacher, they have a church, or they play an instrument in the church.
Mm-hmm.
I was around it all the time. So gospel was a huge influence for me for a while. And I honestly got into classical because for a while Beethoven sounded like gospel to me. I was like, man, this
Yo,
dude is like,
no lies.
okay, I'm glad I'm not crazy because
Yeah, no lies.
I knew I heard it.
It was the
Um,
rhythm. It's the rhythm. It's the
Man, the
rhythm.
rhythms and some of the way just the chorus moves, like, man,
Yeah.
this dude is saucy. Um, so I carried a lot of that with me. I just I didn't really know how to navigate training myself being a professional musician. And then the Lord knows I thank God for Regina because when I was performing before I was studying with her, I looked so uncomfortable on stage.
Yo.
I knew how to play, I guess, but I couldn't convince anybody of that until like maybe the last note of the song. They're like, oh, well, that was actually dope. But trying to get past how awkward I look and listen to what I'm doing, that was pretty crazy. But she taught me, like, look, if you're going to do some shit, just do it. Like, whatever it
Yup.
is, if you're going to play it, and if you're going to play it wrong, just play it wrong, but play that shit. So I carried that into, at first it was rock that I was getting into. I was in a band with some of my composer buddies,
Yup.
and uh,
Yup. That's how I started to me.
the name was music, 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 music. It's stupid shit, but
That's
it was
good.
fun as hell. We all wrote music for the band, and you can imagine what it sounded like. Composer nerds trying to write rock. But damn, I gotta find some of those songs. I got them somewhere. It was fun, and I hadn't like I was kind of messing around with improv, but it wasn't until Greg Banaszak was like, "Hey, you're a composer, and you play stuff other than classical. Here's some jazz. Why don't you arrange this for a string quartet?" I was like,
Wow.
"All right, I guess," but that actually ended up being dope. She probably left by the time you there. Kristen Mancini, she wasn't there.
Nah, yeah.
Um, so that got my gears turning, and I was playing bass in the band. I sort of messed around with it a little bit before my junior year, but not really. I mean, as a composer, I knew how it worked, so I figured I could make it work. And I let the perfect pitch kind of drive me. I was like, I'm just cheat and use my ears, and I'll be fine.
Right.
But improv didn't really come until after I graduated. I was not going to do that shit at that school with all those jazz cats and
Right.
embarrass myself. It's not gonna happen.
Right.
And at that point, you already know how it is. Like, if you ask a classical player to improv, they're either going to do it and it sounds like shit, or
Yep.
they're not going to do it. They're
Right.
just going to sit there and look at you. Uh, I could not figure out. There's a thin line between classical theory and jazz theory, and I didn't understand that until after I graduated. But just looking at how just looking at like lead sheets and stuff like that, I'm like, oh shoot. So classical is driven, by bass, figure bass, and the jazz chords are voiced by the melody. Like a
Mm-hmm.
C, like a first inversion C major chord in classical is an E major six or something in jazz. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Mm.
it's a completely different word, but it's the same sound.
Right.
So that was fucking me up for so long. I'm like, man, I need to figure this out. I need to figure this out. Um, but it didn't really happen until after college. A lot of it had to do with me just being nervous doing all of that around, at least playing around all those jazz cats. But I had written like 5 or 6 jazz tunes when I was there. Um, to this
Wow.
day, I still don't know how they sound. They're just sitting on manuscript paper over there in that pile of stuff. I haven't even. It's dusty as hell. I haven't even
Yep.
seen them since then. But it was really Regina, dog, that
Yep.
really pushed
Saving grace.
me. Yo, she pushed me out of the net because I already had a chip on my shoulder when I was there because I was supposed to be at CIM.
Yo, I'm talking to myself.
I had already sent in my acceptance letter. I signed a little
Yo.
shit, all of that. And then here
Wow.
come Regina at the last minute at Interlochen during recruiting time. Um, she had some master class, and I think I was playing. Oh shit! I was playing the Rococo Variations, and I couldn't even. You know how she is. I couldn't even play 3 measures. I was pissed. I'm like, will you please
Yeah.
let me play the first movement,
Yeah.
the first variation at least? Nah, she stopped me all the time. I was so mad.
Yup.
And Dr. Campbell, he was on sabbatical, so Melissa Crouch, she was our
Love
teacher
her.
at the time. And I'd actually studied with her a little bit at the camp when I went there, but now her and Regina like this, and little did I know Regina and my teacher, my late teacher that was down here in the symphony, they were cool. So I
Oh.
I was dead in the water. Like, and next thing I know, next week she's sending all these letters to my mama's house about scholarships and shit. My mom was like, well, BW gave you more money, so
Right.
that's what I'm like, I don't even know what this is. I don't know this woman. I don't know these people.
Right.
But I looked her up, and I was like, oh, shit. She
She's
studied with Donald.
right. Right. And
I
was
was
this
like, all right,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Same yo. Same. Had the same thing.
Yo, the craziest shit. This is how the universe is so hilarious.
Wow.
I was supposed to be in Mary Peckham's studio,
It's great
and
too.
then sophomore year, I think second semester, Regina was on sabbatical, and Mary Peckham was the damn
Fire.
teacher.
Fire.
I was like, bro, this shit is crazy.
Fire.
So that's so funny. So you were supposed to go to CIM too?
Yeah, I didn't get accepted. But that was I was so determined. Like I was
That's where people was trying to go at Cleveland, man.
that's what it was. I was like I felt like because the teachers liked me, but it was like I guess it was a really rich crop that year or something. I don't know. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying like maybe I was better than what I should have. That's where I wanted to go. That's New England Conservatory CIM audition. I was like, I'll wait a year and I'll audition again next year. I'll get that joint.
Yeah.
But then, that didn't work out. But I saw Regina. I auditioned for BW at the same time I auditioned for CIM and all those other schools, Oberlin, all that. And so I saw that she taught at a school that featured Bach, which I love Bach. Like you had the experience with Beethoven. I love Beethoven, but Bach was like, yo, that sounds
Man.
like hip hop. Like that's those chords, the way that stuff
Yo,
moves, yo,
and
it's
that's
so
gospel
syncopated.
too, like
Yeah, for
bruh.
real. For real.
Yeah, man.
So I love that, and I was like, okay, I just get to come to school and play Bach all the time. All right, That's cool. But then I love Jonas Stark. I don't know. By the time that I was there, it was like the Kodai suite was the that
Mhm.
was the piece. Everybody was like, yeah,
Yep.
you got to do the Kodai. And then Jonas Stark had the best recording. But the way he played it, it was so smooth.
Ooh,
Like no
smooth.
effort, made the
Oh,
cello look like he was
it
drinking
was
water.
easy. It was
Yeah,
easy.
for real. So I was like, okay, this person studied with this master cello like when she was young, his assistant. And I was like, all right, yeah,
Crazy
let me
shit.
go and do this. Let me check her out. Went there and same experience. And she listened to me play the audition and we had lesson and having me go through, no, do it like this. And at this time you're good enough to where usually you go in with teachers, you play something, they're like, yo, this is great. Especially, there may be a little bit of race that plays in it because they're not used to seeing black people play well.
Mhm.
So it'd be like kind of shocking to them. So they can't immediately go to be like, oh,
Mhm.
let's fix this. But
Mhm.
past that, it's usually like, oh yeah, that was cool. Why don't you, think about this? But I really like this, really like this. Regina just went straight in. It was like, eh.
Nah, she didn't care, man. She's
I
like,
was
no,
like,
play it like mine. Mine sounds way better
for
than yours.
real,
I'm like,
for
yeah, of course
real.
it
I was like,
does.
what
No
you're not supposed to say that to me. You want me to come here.
Oh
Yo, and
man,
that was the realest stuff. Like I thought that was so genuine,
I
so
needed
real.
it.
Yeah, loved it. And it was because she didn't do it like an asshole. Like she was caring, but she was just gonna tell you what it was. And I loved that.
Mhm.
And the school, I had a nice little chunk of change from it. So to Berea, Ohio, I went.
Man,
And Regina kept it up all 4 years. You know what I'm saying? All 4 years. She didn't switch up at all.
nah, she never let up.
She didn't switch up at all. And that performance scene that you were talking about, like with the stage presence, rarely do teachers address that. But that was like a
They don't teach
first.
that.
Yeah, before you play, you better come out here with some swag. I'm like, hold up. This, most teachers
Nah,
don't
that's
care what
real.
you look like. Play well. She's
Mm-mm.
like,
They just
nah.
want you to play it well.
Right, right.
Fact.
So when you said that about you, is like kind of teaching you the mentality of like coming out and performing. That's one thing that I don't think classical musicians get, that other
Mm-mm.
genres of music or other students of music know from the beginning. You gotta come with some swag. Now the culture of it is more so about that, which is kind of toxic. You gotta look the part before you play it. But hers was a
Yeah.
great balance. It's like, nah, you better feel that. You gotta come out with some purpose. These people came out here like to see something great. You gotta deliver that. If you don't deliver that to yourself, then you're not gonna deliver it to us. And
Right. Exactly.
yeah. So Regina, wow, that's crazy. And now she's retiring.
I can't believe it,
Yeah, yo.
man. So
I'm
many
this
memories. Ooh.
for real. The when you were saying that story, I was like, man, this is so similar. Why is that so similar? Like, hell, I was already pissed because I was like, yeah, I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, I
I'm
didn't
just,
even want to be there. I'm
I'm
like, man, I'm
transferring.
interlocking. I'm not supposed to be
Right.
at this school.
Right.
Fuck
I
this shit. I'm supposed
know.
to be
I
around him.
know. But within that too, I found some of the dope performers. Like, because it wasn't a performance school, or wasn't like, it wasn't a CIM, Juilliard,
Mhm.
all that stuff. You kind of found some artists that were kind of on the outside. You found a bunch
Mhm.
of people like that. I don't want to say rejects, but like, let's just use that for lack of a better term, and just be like misfits or whatever.
Yep. Mhm.
The Kevin Johnsons who ended
That
up,
guy.
yeah,
Woo.
just being, I'm good, but I'm gonna just do my own thing. A lot of people had to develop their own craft, but not because the school was telling them to do it, but it was because, like, yeah, I don't really fit in with none of y'all, so
Yep.
let me
Yep.
gravitate to my own space. Um, yeah, that's how did that translate from you got that skill in this school? How did you move that into the world after school?
I really, I carried it, and I just had that phrase in my head: "Fake it till you make it." Because I
Uh,
mean, Dallas, of course, is home, but I had never really been on the scene outside of classical. Like a lot of people that know me in Dallas, they know me from when I would play classical gigs. When I mean, in middle school and high school, like really, really young. Um, so here I am trying to make a name for myself as just a musician, not just a cellist, because I mean, I was trying to play bass and I wanted to keep writing and stuff, but everybody knew me as the young strings poster girl in Dallas. Like, so I had to find a way to kind of use that to my advantage, but slide my own stuff in there. And I really fake it till you make it. I took everything that Regina taught me in the classical realm and I just kind of transferred it over into other stuff. But I mean, it was really weird trying to find that balance. Well, really just deciphering the language between classical and jazz because they're the same sounds a lot of the time. 90% of the time, they're the same chords, but they're used differently. They're different words. Like here and here, it sounds the same, but it's spelled completely differently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when I had met my music writing partner Nigel for our band Skinny Cooks, he was similar but jazz. So we have pretty similar stories in terms of our approach to writing, but he wanted to bridge the gap between jazz and classical because he loves classical, but he just doesn't really understand it. But it
Mm.
sounds a lot like jazz in some ways. And me, I was the opposite. Like I wanted to know as much as I could about jazz because I mean Miles Davis wrote sonatas and like um Mozart was a big influence to Miles Davis, and Prokofievich was a big influence to Miles Davis. I'm like, okay, well, let me figure this shit out. Um, and it was funny because when when we first started writing, this actually goes back to my sophomore year when I was first writing jazz tunes. I would study lead sheets just to make sure I was translating it correctly. But a lot of times I would have figure bass and jazz theory mixed up, so nobody would really understand what the fuck was going on. And when we started writing together after I graduated, he was basically my translator. I would have like um instead of C7, for example, instead of like C7 sharp 9, I would write down C7 with a split third. You
Yup.
know what I mean? And
Yup.
he was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yup.
I'm like, "Dog, it's a split third." And he had no idea what a split third was. Um, so I played it for him, and he was like, "Oh, that's just a C7 sharp 9." So that just kept going on and on and on. And then same thing like um I would write like a C major 6-3 or something. He's like, "What the fuck is this?"
Right.
Like first inversion C
Right.
major. So he's
C
like,
over
"Oh no,
E.
just write it like E major 7."
Right.
So it took me a while to break out of that, but um once once I was confident, well at least mostly confident about what I wanted to say theory wise, I just like Regina actually told me that sometimes like just fake it like a pro.
Yup.
That was one of the things she told me before I actually left. Like fake it like a pro until you really get nestled in, and then you can go off. Uh, it took me a while, but I pulled on I pulled on gospel too because I mean I grew up in church. Like
Right.
literally, I was in church 7 days a week. On my mom's side, straight up Baptist. I'm talking about like Baptist, fit Baptist, and then my dad's side is Pentecostal and Church of God in Christ. So all the time,
Wow.
every single day, it didn't matter what side of the family I was on. When I would go stay with my grandparents during the summer, my granddad had church, and Monday was Monday was like choir rehearsal or something. Tuesday was prayer service. Wednesday was Bible study. Thursday was pastor's day. Friday was kids night. Saturday was like staff meetings and stuff, and then Sunday every day. But before can't remember exactly. I think it was when I was in high school. The bass player at my church that I grew up in on my mom's side, he I had been playing. They had let me play cello in church a few times, which I'm really grateful for that. Sometimes the hardest audience is some damn church people. They either love it or
Mm-hmm.
they hate it, and you can't really figure out why they love it or they hate it. They
Mm-hmm.
just one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the bass player was like, "Man, you know what? You already have the dexterity. Why don't you just play bass?" And one, I was like, that bass has 7 strings. I'm not touching that. But he was like, no, no, it's cool, it's cool. So he would let me come up after service, like, you know how service go on for
Mm-hmm.
hours and hours and hours and hours, and the pastor's talking before the benediction, that type of shit. He would let me come up and play a little bit while the band is jamming, and they do like the walkout music or whatever. So I had kind of gotten exposed to just playing on the fly. Not really. I mean, I used my ears to figure out um if there was some improv going on, what they were doing, but pretty much they were just grooving, right, and just kind of going with the flow of whatever was happening in the service. So I kind of got accustomed to some elements of improv through just like playing in church every now and then. Uh, and like I mean, like I said, man, I just mashed all that shit together and did my own thing with it.
Right. Right. It kind of wasn't like you wrote out this plan, but you kind of
Mm-mm.
followed the things that the windows that were open or the doors that were open, checked it out, moved along, then it
Uh-huh.
opened up another door.
Mhm.
Nice. I feel that. You kind of just got to go with the tools that you have and then,
Exactly, man. You don't know what you're gonna build, but you got all this stuff and you got all these materials.
right.
Take them out. And it
Right.
was it was tough for a minute because now I'm fine. I've been a full time musician for maybe 3 or 4 years, like no regular job. But for a while, I worked at Bank of America for a long time, and after that, I did data entry for like the creditor place insurance for auto. Um, and that job didn't really bother me that much because I could listen to music all day and just key stuff in. But like, man, I'm wasting my damn time in here. And I mean, it was cool. It was a flexible schedule. If I had a gig or a rehearsal, I could come in early as long as I got in my 8 hours. But I was like, man, this is bullshit. Like, I just need to. And that was like maybe that was the first time that I made the decision to just leave corporate America altogether. That was the
Mm.
first time. And then I was a supervisor at UPS for a while, and again, I was like, this is fucking stupid. Um, but my schedule kind of accommodated me being a full time musician because I would go in at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I would leave at maybe noon or 1,
Mm-hmm.
take a nap, and I would have the whole day for music, but I would just be so exhausted. And I was like, you
Right.
know what? Let me just do this. So I finally got a church gig, and they paid like shit, but it was good practice because it was weird. It was a kind of like a Pentecostal affirming church. But I didn't even know we had affirming churches in the Bible Belt. Um,
Yeah, I don't even know what that
that was
is.
crazy. An affirming church is basically a church for gay people.
Oh, okay.
So a Pentecostal church with a bunch of gay folk in it. So
Okay.
just imagine it. Just um,
In the Bible Belt of the South. That is odd.
crazy. Um, so I mean, it was good practice for my chops, but that money was not hitting. And right when I decided to leave that church, I had got on at one of the teaching gigs that I have now, and I was like, okay, cool. All this shit is starting to line up. So, and
Right.
after that, I mean, I never looked back, and that was the craziest part that I had to come to terms with. That you really just have to jump out of the nest it all went back to what Regina was saying. Like, if you're gonna do it, just do it. I don't care what you do. It's just do it well. As soon as I jumped out of that nest, it just all the stuff just started lining up, and I never really looked back since.
Yo, what they say, um, like take the leap. Well, I don't know who says this, but you take the leap and then the wings will show themselves.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm just paraphrasing something that I've heard, but
It's true, man.
you know, kind of reveals itself to you once you take that faith step. It won't do it before. You'll never get a plan.
Nah.
And being a musician is very much like taking a leap off of a Grand Canyon. It's a
Every day.
right. It's an all-consuming thing which doesn't have any type of monetary value inside of this system.
Right.
The business based around it. You can set some money parameters, but like music is not tangible. Like you can't like how do
Right.
you how do you,
Exactly.
how do you sell that?
Man.
That's crazy. How do you sell sound? You know what I'm saying? Like how do you sell sound? It's everywhere.
Man.
That's just crazy. And so to make a living off of it is just this ever fleeting thing. And you have to piece it together with so many different uh, tools and skill sets, which is why building up as many Lego pieces as you can will help you build whatever
Mhm.
works for you. The
Yep.
I've been listening to your music and it's everywhere. It's not even just under your name. You're writing for other groups. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much music that you've written, and it's like as a composer, as a musician, a producer, how do you stay inspired? And that probably
Oh
goes,
my
yeah,
God.
that's like it's everywhere, and it's so diverse. You know what I'm saying? You're not writing in one lane. You're grabbing stuff from everywhere.
Oh man, my homegirl just asked me this question 2 days ago. How do you stay motivated? Like, man, most days I don't even know. But the older that I'm getting, bro, and I was just talking to my music partner about this the other day. Like, I have to lead some sort of normal life, like not just music all the time. I need to do regular people boring shit. Um, Sometimes I have to have like two personal days a week where I just don't do shit. I just look at the TV, or I just sit here in complete silence. I don't do nothing. But other than that, honestly, it's really cliche, but all of my experiences keep me motivated, and it's mostly the stuff that I really don't want to deal with. Like, all of this grieving, and I mean, I've
Right,
been losing family members left and right, and this
right,
dumbass mask mandate being lifted in Texas, and just all this uncertainty and really unsettledness that's around, and having to live in it, makes you really have to figure out, well, what are you going to do with it? Uh, and I try to keep myself in different pockets of sound too. Like the stuff I write for Skinny Cooks, it doesn't sound like anything. I People ask me what genre it is, and I never know what to tell them. I
yeah,
don't know. I have no idea.
yeah,
Um, my stuff, I don't. Most of the time, I don't even know what that is either.
yeah.
Um, I play in it's like R&B rock sort of band, and I play in a pop band. Um, it's I have to keep my ears grabbing different stuff. So I'm just not absorbing the same information, therefore, putting out the same stuff.
Right.
Um, I haven't. It's been a while since I've like really sat and listened to classical, but I feel like it's a cop out. Because I mean, I studied it for so damn
I
long.
know.
So
I know.
You
I'm a,
know,
I don't know about
you
you.
already know.
Yeah, but like for me, I found, and maybe like in hindsight, I analyzed it this way, but because it was such a narrow focus on classical music, even though I was listening to a bunch of music, like creating and expressing myself through classical music for so long, now I have this compulsion to try and express myself in as many things as I can,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I don't want to just express myself in that one medium. Even though classical music, there's a lot of diversity in it, and so even in this monoculture, there's a lot of diversity. So that
Hmm.
may add to it too. Like I'm just used to being able to play music from France or from Brazil, from Germany, or from something
Hmm.
inside of classical music. Even though that's all the same thing in my mind. When I stopped doing it, I
Yeah.
was like, no, I'm gonna only do anything but in it, and I can't just do
Hmm.
one thing. So I'm that's how I in hindsight I see it that way. Maybe it applies to you too, or
Nah, I feel that 100%. I needed to get away from it for a while. 'Cause, I mean, I wasn't missing it, and we just we were so consumed by that culture up until college, and college was really the tipping point. Like you're either going to continue it after this point, or you're just going
right,
to get away from it and maybe visit it every now and then. Which
right,
I didn't want that. Like I had that was my plan. Like that's why I went to Interlochen. That's why I went to college. I was like, I'm supposed to be either in orchestra or a soloist.
yeah,
Like
or the hip thing to do when you got to college. Oh, I'm gonna be in the chamber ensemble.
like
That was
everybody had
like,
a
ooh,
quartet, everybody had a
yeah,
trio and shit. Like,
yeah,
and I had tried that too when I got back to Dallas. I had a trio for a while, but our first violinist, she's she's in Germany playing in some all black orchestra, and
that's tight.
she ain't never looked back. And Steven, he's starting to feel like for a while he was a straight up classical, like, and we're all black too. We all
That's tight.
Sarah, she wasn't in Young Strings, but we all went to high school together. Steven, classical elitist, like nobody but Beethoven and Prokofiev and all those dudes. But after a while, he finally started listening to different music. Like it was crazy when I found out he was listening to Flying Lotus. I'm like,
Wow.
you listening to Fly Low? He's like, yeah, this is dope.
Yeah.
But then he found out Fly Low was like classically trained,
Yeah.
and so that really got him excited. But he's slowly trying to find his way out of classical music. So it's so weird how things change. But I pull on a lot of those experiences for sure. But it's just so old and outdated now, and I
Right.
think there's a space for it, but it's still stuck in the fucking 1930s and 1940s
Right.
at least from what I can see. So I don't know, man. It's been an interesting journey. I mean, of course I appreciate. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't
Right.
for
I know.
classical music.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that.
But
I know that. Yeah. But it's
I
time, like
don't
you
know.
said in the beginning, like the relationship. It's like you just found out that you were in this toxic ass relationship. That was abusive. Especially towards black people. It's a little bit different.
Man,
But and then you get out of it and you're like, oh, oh, I
yeah,
was
you can
getting
see.
beat that whole time.
Yeah, you can see. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I mean. What really made me like I pushed all the way through until I got into an orchestra. It was a professional orchestra. I'm like, okay, this should make me feel I should be fine. And I was like, oh
Hated
hell
it.
no. Hell
Hated
no.
it.
I
Ooh,
was like,
man.
hell no.
Hated
I
it.
can't do this for the rest of my life. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, damn. And I was so mad at myself because all the older heads would come to me and be like, yo, you need to play this. You need to play this. Check this out. And I'm like, no. I need to focus, you know? I need to get this. I need to get into this orchestra. And I'm like, wow, I should have listened. But at the same time, you know, if you were listening to your teachers and you were being like a good cellist, you weren't supposed to do any of that stuff. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Man, it's funny. There's another cellist that I reconnected with down here. We were in youth orchestra and stuff together when we were kids, and um, somehow came across her Instagram, and I was always sure that she was gonna be either a soloist or in an orchestra, like off top. She was always sitting first desk, all this stuff. And I think she went to Curtis or New England Conservatory or something. But I ran across her Instagram and she was using a looper, and I was like, Journey, really? Oh shit!
Right.
So we finally reconnected. And it's the same story. Like, she had gotten into a professional orchestra. She had a big ass teaching studio. She thought that that was like, I made it.
Yeah, right.
But she hated that shit. She was like, I don't have time for my family. These people are crazy. Like, this industry is so jacked up. I'm
Right.
gonna just go off and do my own thing. So it's like, bro, it's a whole movement happening right now, like, fast.
I agree.
Um, even Vicky, like,
Oh, yeah, yo, Beast
I
too.
mean,
Beast too. Yeah.
it's an entire movement happening right now, and a lot of people that I know that went to BW that were feeling the same way we were. Like, one of my homeboys, Chris, he wasn't even in a conservatory his first year at BW. He was like, I think he was general studies or something like that, and he ended up being a jazz studies major. He ended up going to new school, no, U Arts after that, and he doesn't do he maybe played straight ahead jazz after he graduated from U Arts for, I don't know, 2 3 years, but he just produces a lot of stuff. He's getting into EDM. He's doing
Yup.
lo-fi, like
Yup.
all this other stuff. Kevin's still doing his thing. My boy Dave McHenry, I don't even know if he plays jazz anymore. He was playing with this band Herzog, and I think he's still playing with him or something. But yeah, like, it's a and my who I was talking to you about, Kristen Mancini, she was my roommate. She plays violin. She moved to she ended up going to Cleveland State after her sophomore year, and she got a multi-track looper. She's looping like violin and keys and vocals and doing like I gotta see you this track that I
Yeah.
sent to her. There's a lot of music I need to slide your way.
Yeah.
Um, but she's doing all of the multi-track looping stuff now too. So it's something is about to, like, really pop off this year in terms of just classical musicians really taking over the lo-fi hip hop alternative scene.
Right.
I'm kind of excited about it because I haven't seen anything like this before, at least to my knowledge. People either, like, stay on one path or they just quit. But
Right. That's true.
we're all, like, finding a way to stay in it without completely abandoning it, but, like, doing something fresh, you know. So it's cool shit. I'm excited.
Me too. I think and also now it's not a lot of people only doing it for the gimmick. You know what I'm saying? People are finding ways to
Yeah, man.
creatively doing it in their own way. And it's not
There's, like,
just
intent behind it.
right, right, right. It's not kind of just for some views playing a little bit of
Yeah,
over some
nah,
drums and stuff, you know?
man, fuck that.
Which
Ugh.
is yeah, I mean it is what it is, but it's like now we have people coming in doing it as a sort of expression, not like a means to
Mm-hmm.
gain popularity or fame, which is it
Yeah,
is what it is. Again, we all grew up in this capitalist system, which whatever,
yeah, whatever.
you know. Then also some of them are kind of we're seeing like it's like a second wave of it, right? We saw it before, and it was like you see like the black violins and
Mhm.
nothing but strings, and then now you see a second wave of it, and now
Mm.
it's for two big factors. I think the generation that's a little bit younger than us but coming up in it, they're really gonna be like because the pandemic really set some orchestras straight. You know what I'm saying? Like pandemic was like, yo, y'all better switch this up. Y'all should have been switched this up 30
Man,
years ago. But if
don't
y'all
get
ain't
me
switch it up now, y'all dead and no one feels sorry for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like
don't get me started, man. Ooh,
I will talk about it all day too. So yeah, don't let me
I was
get
happy to see it. I was happy to see
for
it. Like it's
real.
about that time. Y'all done
For
got
real.
exposed.
For real. For real. For real. For real.
And
Like
that
they're
just confirmed I made the right move.
right.
Like,
Right. Right. Right, and you have the and also the thing that pisses me off the most, and this is no every time I get so conflicted talking so pointedly about this because there's people that were in this industry like the teaching industry that I love, and genuinely gave me a lot. I wouldn't be here without them, right? But
yeah.
they just happen to be a part of this system, and some people are
Mm-hmm.
intentionally perpetuating it, some people aren't, so that's okay. Those are
Mm-hmm.
different. So I'll just put that disclaimer out there. But this industry of classical musicians coming up through schools paying $50,000 for debt, just to have the chance to get into an orchestra. Yo, that's the biggest scam on the planet.
And
So now these young kids see, oh, the end result is me supposed to be getting an orchestra, and now these orchestras have nothing to offer. Like they can't
mm,
even get out of this, right? So they're like, oh, nope, that's BS. Second, because of this, that whole cultural revolution, this we're still unpacking what actually the effects of last June was, but
shit,
it's been a long time coming that something needs to happen to address white supremacy in this
man,
country and
say,
around the world. And we know before this year, I mean, it's always been a long-standing thing, but it was harder to talk about because once you talked about it, you're complaining. But at least there was a
mm,
open sliver of conversation that could have happened over this past year. Um, and now people were listening. So then you can hear other people talk about the same thing. Yo, this shit's
mm,
been racist. Like we still playing this. You don't act like this is outside of you. Classical music perpetuates this. So then you have all these black string players being like, oh, this is one and the same. They not even able to take care of themselves without some
mm,
rich white people. That is the system
mm.
that I'm angry at. I'm angry at this system. Like it doesn't do anything good for me outside and I say shit. Why don't I say stuff with the thing that I love, music? And so those two factors are going to be I think are a big thing that is going to raise this next generation that's a little bit younger than us to do something really amazing. And I'm excited.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
'Cause I can't tell. People think I'm lying when I. So I started playing cello when I was 12. So that's late.
That
So
is late. Whoa. Jeez.
my teacher was putting me on a fast track to like catch me up to all these people that were playing for years at this
Do you
point
have
since they were
lessons
5
twice a
or 6
week or
years old.
something? What did you?
No, I mean we would just. And I've been on stage since I was 5. Like I've been performing for almost 30 years of my life. I
Right.
started off as a percussionist and a piano player. Like right after I learned my shapes and colors, I was learning bass clef and treble clef and clave. Um, so
Dope.
I was already familiar with a lot of really different types of music. My percussion teacher, when I was a kid, he really only taught us like South American type of rhythms and
Fire.
African shit. Like so, I had
Fire.
already luckily gotten some culture, and this was a school in the project in South Dallas, so it
Fire.
was what I'm saying, real cool stuff. um, but I started cello when I was 12, and before that, I dabbled in violin and viola, but it was so uncomfortable and it was
Right.
annoying and shit.
It is
But
annoying
as
as
soon as
shit.
I played cello, like man, this feels much better.
Right.
But she had me on a fast track to like catch me up to all these people that had been playing for a long time. First time I did all region, I think I was 13. Um, and I got like I placed pretty high for that being my first real competition. I think I was like fourth out of maybe 12 or 13 cellists.
That's crazy.
Really insane. And I mean, I'm just there doing my thing. I'm not worried about nobody else. I didn't even know what that meant. I just went to where my name was on the seat, sat down, started
Right.
using it. Um, and I'll never forget. I was walking. I had my cello, and I was walking down the hall trying to find the rest of my school, and this group of white girls. It was like three cellists that was sitting somewhere in the back, and it was a violinist and a violist. I think they all went to the same school, and they were like, they cornered me. They was like, "What's your name? Where you from? How long you been playing? All this other shit, blah 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 blah." And I'm just looking at them like, "What the hell y'all want?" And I was like, "My name is Brianne from Pleasant Grove, blah blah blah. I just started playing last year," and that they didn't like that shit. Yeah, yeah. It was, I was like, I've only been playing for like a year, and then
Ooh.
they looked at me for a while,
Ooh.
called me the N word and bounced. I was like,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
cool. I might be the N
Wow.
word, but guess where you sitting? In the
Right.
back of the bus.
Wow. Wow. You
People
already
think
know
I'm
where their
lying.
mind was. They was like, oh, you know.
Last year,
Right.
and
Right.
then one girl, she was like, I've been playing since I was 5. How long have you been playing last year?
Nobody cares. Can
Called
you
me the N
play?
word and bounced. I'm like, you can
That's
be mad, but
crazy.
guess where your seat is?
Yeah, that's
You
crazy.
behind me. So yeah,
That's
now what you said is on point. It's about time the the whole top blew off of this industry because
yeah.
people thought for years we were lying. We
Yes,
were
yo.
saying this
For
was
real.
racist. Oh man, they're the
For real.
worst.
For real. I mean, most of these jazz cats, well, whatever jazz is, but most of those cats that were playing
Right.
Black American music, I mean, obviously if they studied music in the schools, they started off with classical instruments.
Mhm.
The only reason that they switched those other instruments because they wouldn't let them in those orchestras.
Yep.
And they was
Man.
like, all right, well, let me go just play with my black friends,
Yep.
And there you got this medium, the round of the wide array of mediums that is Black American music. I mean,
Mhm.
which is basically every piece of
All of
music.
it. All of it.
Yeah. And one thing that I've been chewing on recently that's been like really eating at me because they always teach you like classical music is the real music, right? This is the real
Yeah.
music. What are they saying when they're saying that? I always used to just think like, oh, well, it's just because it's not written,
Huh.
or is this because it has like long forms, or is it because it's instrumental stuff? And then as I'm thinking it over, years and years, but finally I was just like, oh, I made this connection. I thought was another one that was interesting is most of the music that we hear in America was written by black people, or around the world written by black people. Black people was everywhere around the world. South American stuff, they be like, oh yeah, that's not real music, that's that folk shit. Oh, hip hop music, yeah, no, that's not real music, that's that other shit. Nah, this jazz, no,
Mhm.
that's not it. And it's now I'm like, oh, y'all were just saying that's that nigga shit.
Yep. Yep.
Is that
Mhm.
what y'all was saying for real? Pop music, yeah, no, that's not real music. That's wait,
That's crazy, man. I never thought about it like that.
I never, and I've been trying to disprove it. I've been like, because they'll accept, some of them really accepted like rock music, which I'm not even saying that's white music because that was black music too, but it has a
Yeah.
face of a lot of white people, and they're like, oh yeah, some of that, Mamma Mia, Mamma Mia, da, 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 or the
Yeah.
Beatles, right? They'll let you do that stuff, right? But the other stuff was like, nah, that's that nigga shit. I was like, they always would say something clever. It'll always be like,
Mhm.
it just repeats all the time. And I'm like, well, what do you think
Yep.
Philip Glass is? Or they'll be like, oh, they're just talking about a bunch of drugs and stuff. Well, what do you think Berlioz was on? It's like, what are we talking about? Like, how do you not, and you didn't,
Hey, man, how
let's,
you think Schubert died? He couldn't
right,
keep his thing in his pants.
right. And
What you talking
so
about?
we didn't talk about, and not to even say we didn't talk about black composers, which were through and through history. We don't need, that's just
Right,
clear as day. But I was like, that is very interesting. What
man.
the culture is just so lightly, it's so yeah, the microaggression is large. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Like
real.
it's
It's
everywhere.
real.
And so I don't know. I could really talk about that
Oh yeah, I
forever.
could go on for days about that.
But one thing that I also man, I don't want to keep too much of your time too, but I just want to make sure a few things. Yeah, I mean, listening to your music, I would be like, there's a lot of stream of consciousness vibes that I get from your music because I mean,
Hmm.
obviously that's some new age term. Who cares what the meaning of that is? But when I hear that, I mean, like, you're just flowing wherever you're inspired.
Yep.
Um, and I really enjoy that. Like, I be outside a lot. And so, when I'm listening to music, I hear it outside, and I sense a lot of that when I'm outside listening to your vibes. Um,
Oh yeah.
your summertime, your chakra stuff, your um, even your singles, the stuff like that. Love it, love it,
Thank
and
you, man. Thank you.
yeah, I I see you. I appreciate you. I wanted to start this series to kind of do multiple things. Obviously, we all got to produce some type of content nowadays, which
Mhm.
is what it is. But the things that I enjoy most about performing sometimes, or traveling, or playing music, is the conversations you get to have with other musicians, and you
Mhm.
all feel like you kind of know you have a lifetime of experiences that you can talk about because you've been experiencing the same thing in different ways.
Yep.
Um, and you learn so much from hearing somebody talk about the thing that you've been looking at all your life in a completely different way, but there's so many
Mhm.
similarities. And I kind of wanted to capture that and share that with people, and also provide a space where people can come see great musicians that do something completely different from what I do, or do something that I um, think would be similar in some ways that I know that they would enjoy. So I'm happy that you're on here. I appreciate you sharing your
For
time.
sure, man. I'm a
You know,
huge fan. Huge.
yo,
I'm telling everybody about you, man.
Yo,
Like,
and
huge
I'm
fan.
just mad at myself because you know what like I said before at BW, everyone's like, "Oh, you gotta meet Brianne. You gotta meet Brianne." Of course, I'm stubborn. Like, yo, stop talking to me. We
Same.
here
I was like, Vicky, Anna, who are y'all talking about? I don't
for
even know these
real,
dudes.
for real. Y'all don't even say. Here's the thing too, because it's like we don't even talk. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I
Like,
don't know him from a can of paint, bro. Like,
right? And
but
she
all
come
right.
right. But I'm kick myself. We should have. It'd have been great to talk with you even back then. When I was
Yeah,
in
man.
school, because I could have been like, oh yeah, I'm not crazy then. But then now I'm happy to connect, and I
Yes,
look forward
sir.
to hearing your set, and I look forward to and continuing to chop it up in the future. I'm glad we finally got to have a talk,
Yeah,
but we be
finally,
hitting
man.
each other up in the Texas, so that's cool too. I get it. Um,
Finally.
Anything you want to say to the people, or anything you want to talk about?
Um, nah, man. I'm excited for my set. I got some stuff that I'm gonna try out.
Hell
We're
yeah,
gonna see how it goes. I
that's
don't know how
cool.
it sounds yet, so we're gonna see when the set happens.
That's
But nah,
chill.
I'm just excited to play, man.
Dope, dope. All right, well I'm excited to watch, and I know other
Yes,
people are
sir.
too. So, um, yeah, I'll see you on April 25th,
Uh huh.
and yeah, that's it. You could do like a 30-minute set. And it'll be chill. We're gonna, unless you want to do
Cool.
longer. So, something chill, and then
Cool.
I'm gonna do a 30-minute set too, or less. So,
Sound like
um,
a plan.
dope. All right, Bree. It's nice to. Do people
All
call you
right,
Bree?
man.
Brianne? What did they say? Sarge?
Yeah,
Do they call you
Bree.
Sarge?
Not often. There's maybe like one or two people that have ever called me Sarge, but I'm not opposed to it.
Not
But it's
opposed to it.
normally Bree.
More than Bree. All right, cool. All right, Bree. Well, it was nice chopping it up with you.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll catch you next
Peace,
time.
man.
See ya.